Hello and welcome to my channel Crafting with me, Indiana Jones. Why do I have peacocks? Well, you'll see in just a little bit, but first, let me tell you about today's wonderful collaboration. This is the Last Thing Thrifted Spring Edition collaboration, and I have all these wonderful friends that will be working together. Farmhouse Frugally, Provincial Farmhouse all the way from Australia, Shabby Meets Bling, Dawn, Up All Night, DIY Monica, and Repurposed My Way. So let's get started to upcycle and make spring beautiful. I don't know about you, but my favorite price is free, and this was a side of the road freebie. Yes, this was on my neighbor's side of the road. They're throwing it out. It was leaning against the garbage can, and I couldn't believe it because I just thought the frame was beautiful. Now I could tell that they had painted it white or beige, whatever the color that was, because this was a wood frame, and in the back of it I could see the actual gilding. So I thought I would bring it back to that. Now look at this calendar. I save all of my calendars, especially when they're this beautiful. I believe this one was from Hobby Lobby, if I'm not mistaken, or actually Dollar Tree. But look at all the wonderful selections that I had, and I finally decided on that peacock, and that is what became the theme of this video, because I said, you know what, that was so beautiful. Look at that. Oh, you would pay so much for something like that, right? In the store. So again, a discarded calendar, and I used just a cardstock for the backing of it. I didn't have any canvas that fit that exact size. And now the way I use Mod Podge, I used Mod Podge for this, is I put the Mod Podge on first, let it dry a little, and then I reactivate the Mod Podge with heat. Now I'm using this beautiful dragonfly glaze from Folk Art and the Plaid family of products. And I just decided to really touch upon all the little feathers and give it that beautiful sheen. I don't know if you've ever seen a peacock in real life, but they are stunning, but they sound like geese. It's the funniest thing, but they really are beautiful. And here in South Florida, there are many neighborhoods where there are peacocks running around rampant and squawking about. Now I'm adding a little bit of gold as well, just to give it a little bit of a pop to this design. I just think it is so beautiful. And yes, I did put some of that dragonfly glaze on that butterfly as well. And it's just a little touch. I don't want it to be too extravagant. I don't want to take away from the whole design. Now here is the fully painted frame. I didn't want you to watch me painting it the whole time. And once again, I am using Folk Art Antique wax just to give it a little depth. If you've ever painted anything gold and you don't use antique wax, it really adds so much depth. Now look at the quality of this frame on the back, and look at the back of my little kitty cat Luna. She had to be there. So all I am doing is adding just the design. Look at that, the peacock design, and it's done. It's ready to go on my wall and ready for spring. So I forgot to film the before I painted this, but just imagine that this was black when I first got it at the thrift store. Look how beautiful this is. And it was the crown alone. I actually added the pedestal, which is a Dollar Tree taper candle holder, and I painted everything in this beautiful gold color. Now I'm using one of the Dollar Tree styrofoam balls, cut it in half, and that is where I'm going to add my florals. I'm going to make this into a floral decoration for spring that's going to match with the peacock. So I found these beautiful hydrangeas in my stash, and there's little Luna. And I tried to focus on those peacock colors of blues and greens and aquas. And then I added some very soft, pale pastel pink roses as well. And of course, greenery, including some eucalyptus leaves, just to try to make this a very springy kind of arrangement without necessarily being Easter yet. So there are eggs involved. There is, a bird. It's not a chick, but it's a bird. So it's a different way. And now Luna is just approving the final design so that I can share it all with you. I hope you like this idea, and I hope you can find something similar to this crown at the thrift stores. Now I'm thrifting from my stash because this is an item that I purchased a few years ago. Actually, it was in one of those Michaels boxes back when they were only $5. So that was what, 2 years ago, I think. Anyway, I love the color of this egg and I finally had an idea of what to do with it, following along with the peacock design from my first project. Now, to stabilize the egg, or to make it easier for me, I'm using one of those Dollar Tree, taper candle holders, and just using hot glue to glue the candle to it, to glue the egg to it, so that I can just rest it and, handle it with my hands without having to get my hands all, full of paint and what have you. So here I'm using one of these little clear, little snack holder. This is what I use sometimes for paint, and I'm using it to mix together my paint and match it with the beautiful painting behind it. So here I am just using that to create a backdrop for my little peacock. Now I am going to rip the edges, as you'll see in just a moment, but to make it blend into the egg a little better, that is what I am doing here. Once again, I am adding a little bit of that antique wax just to give it a little more depth and warmth. I love it, and I'm mixing it together. I know it's weird, I'm mixing it together a little bit with the paint, but it's okay. I just wanted one side to be a little darker as it appears in the painting. And again, I really do love this light blue-green color. It's so perfect for spring. Now, taking a wet brush, I am going to rip away. And this is just regular paper. It's not tissue. It's not, decoupage paper. I'm just using regular paper. And what I do with regular paper, usually before I decoupage it, is I put a very light coat of water just to soften the paper so it's more malleable. Malleable, the word of the day. So it's more malleable, especially if I'm going to place it on rounded objects such as this egg. And as you can see, I'm just going slowly ripping away the excess so that it looks very rustic and antique-ish, and so it doesn't have any hard edges, especially since I want this to be an oval to match the shape of the egg. Take your time with this and enjoy the process. As you can see, I just keep checking to see how it will fit on that beautiful blue egg. Now, as I said before, I put a little bit of water first. As you can see, I'm doing that there. And then I'm going to add Mod Podge. But before that, I want to cut away, just cut little slits. Because this is a rounded object, it always helps to cut a few little slits here and there. Now I'll add my Mod Podge, and it's ready to go onto my egg. And Mod Podge is from the Plaid family of products. And I'm using matte Mod Podge. I'm using very light. I don't want this to wrinkle. I do have a few little wrinkles, but it's okay. It worked out just fine. And mainly the wrinkles are because it's rounded. It's not a flat, not a flat surface. So that happens. It's all right. It's all right. Hey, I got wrinkles of my own, and I think I'm fabulous. I think I'm gorgeous. So there you go. Little wrinkles never took away from the true beauty of anything in this world. Ta-da! There you go. So as you can see, I'm just taking my time and Mod Podging or decoupaging this item or this painting. I love this painting. You can see little mini wrinkles. I have little wrinkles, but slowly and surely I'm going to press them out just using the back of a paintbrush. I'm trying not to scrape it, but I am able to get many of those out. I did try to iron it a little bit, but that really didn't help. I think it was just taking the time to get rid of the wrinkles one by one that really paid off for me. If you are so inspired, I am really so happy to tell you that I'm growing my channel, and I would love for you to be part of my YouTube community. So please consider liking, sharing, and subscribing so you can come back for more fun and fabulous inspirations. Now, I am using casting resin for the first time on these molds. I was inspired by Erin, who is part of this playlist, and she is in the provincial farmhouse. If you don't watch her, please do. This is my first time casting the resin, and I feel like it's very easy. I was very scared, but the amazing casting resin is amazing, but it really casts very fast. Now these the borders that I chose, I think I cast them a little too thick, and you saw there that I was using a little bit of a heat gun, because to be able to bend it and make it more malleable, you have to heat it up. It's very easy to do. You can do it right off of the mold once you pull it off the mold, which I did for some of them, like the little roses there. But especially for this, I had to use the heat gun to really shape it into place for those borders, and especially for these little frames that are going to be, again, framing that beautiful painting in my egg. I love to think of this as a Faberge egg. I don't know if you know anything about Faberge eggs, but they are absolutely beautiful. The history of them is quite sad, but they are extravagant eggs that were created by the Faberge family for the Russian Tsar. I'll have more information about that. But again, they celebrated Easter, and it became a tradition. And that's why a lot of these beautiful decorated eggs came about, as far as I know. So I'm using that border, and again, I'm using B7000, a little bit of hot glue, simply because I didn't feel that the hot glue alone would hold in place. So the B7000 or E6000, whatever it is that you have, B or E. And yeah, so if you've never used resin before, I would suggest using the amazing casting resin. But again, it hardens immediately, like within 5 minutes for me. But look at this. Once these beautiful white resin pieces are painted gold, and once again I added some of that antique wax to it, it just gives it such a depth, and you can see how beautifully it's going to frame that beautiful painting. I am so happy with this project. I really was very surprised at how nice it turned out, and I was so happy to share this with you as well. So please try to make a point of, when you're making Easter decor, make something really extravagant and special that you would love to bring out each and every year, or even as gifts. Wouldn't this be a lovely gift for your mom or your friend that, you know, maybe they don't like decorating for Easter, but maybe something like this would be very pretty for their home. So, as I said before, just glue in place, and again, use the E6000 and use the hot glue just to hold it right away. Now, I know the E6000, I know the hot glue will not hold it permanently, so please remember to use the E6000 or B7000, whatever it is that I'm using. I had so much fun creating this. And then at the very top, I added a little rose from one of my molds. Now, my molds, I buy them at Temu because they are actually a lot more expensive, but you have to make sure you look at the size, because sometimes, and I hate to say this, but sometimes they have items that to you might look like, you know, they're 9 by 8 or something, and then when you get them, they're only like 3 or 4 inches tall. Now, there again is that taper candle holder that was from the Dollar Tree, and I had painted gold and let to dry. Now, from Totally Dazzled, I have these beautiful little crowns left over from my Queen of Hearts decor from Christmas, and there you have it. I love this. I hope you like it too. If you work for a corporation or you have a business of your own, more than likely you'll get a lot of sample promotional materials. Here is one of them, and this usually ends up, believe it or not, sometimes in the garbage. Believe it or not. So I always check with my marketing department to see if they've received any kind of promotional materials, and here's one of them. This is for imprint. And I thought this would make, with that color blue, this would make a perfect little journal. And I'm actually going to take this to work and show it off. But here all I'm doing is using, again, folk art paints in gold. This is an antique gold, and just creating an edge to add to my beautiful painting. I love these peacocks. I've never been into peacocks. This is like my first time that I really create like real peacock decor. So here I have everything done in gold, and now once again I'm going to add that dragonfly glaze to match with the painting that I originally had. And I should add some of this as well to the little egg, and I might do this afterwards. But this dragonfly glaze, it has a bit of a, a shine to it. It has a little bit of glitter. It has, shifting, color shifting. If you've ever used color shift paint, it's absolutely beautiful. And again, it replicates the look of peacock flowers. Now, look at these little columns. Again, I made this with the casting resin, the amazing casting resin. And once again, I love them. Here I am painting all these parts in gold. However, those 2 columns, I don't know why I thought they would be long enough, but instead of trying to cast more resin, because it is expensive, I just decided to use the hot glue. So if you don't have resin, just use hot glue for any mold. It's very easy to do. Once again, I'm going to use the method of placing some Mod Podge onto my project and then letting it dry a little, making sure it's still a little tacky. And then I was going to glue it to, or Mod Podge it, decoupage it to the journal. One thing I forgot before I added the Mod Podge was to rip off the edges once again to give it that rustic or antique kind of look. And look at how good that looks. Now, I always try to use a little bit of, not wax paper, parchment paper. Do not use wax paper because there's wax on it. And it'll end up either on your product or on your iron. And I'm using my little mini HTV Ront iron that they supplied about a year ago, and I've really been in love with it. This has been one of my favorite products, especially for Mod Podging. And look at that. Not a wrinkle to be seen. I love it. To add these beautiful golden columns, all I am using is some hot glue. I thought it was fine since this is going to be used on my desk, and it should hold, especially because the material below it is porous, not like the plastic egg that we used before, and I had to use the E6000. So there's the middle part that I had to kind of build from the other columns, and I just used hot glue for that, and it worked fine. You can't tell the difference. Maybe at first you can, but I painted it all again and it really looks so lovely. I am so happy with this and I can't wait to take it to work. I couldn't think of having that beautiful journal without creating something such as an inkwell, of course, and have a pen for it. So here I'm suggesting two opportunities to use something that would normally be in the trash. We have so many of these fragrance warmers, and you can either use a glass bottle from the fragrance warmer, or in this case, I'm going to use this tiny little Coach perfume bottle. Yes, I need to get a new one. I need to get a new Coach perfume. But all I'm doing is taking out the insides so that I can actually place a little pen in the little bottle, because all I'm going to do with this is make it look like it's an ink well and make it look very vintage and beautiful. So once again, gold is the way to go. This whole project was all about gold. It is coming back in as part of like country chic. I don't know what to call it. Country chic, country French. So gold is very much in for right now. You know, things change, but you know, they always come back. So all I'm doing is using my folk art paint once again, same shade, this antique gold, and painting the whole bottle. And believe it or not, yes, it stuck. After the second coat, it stuck. And here's this beautiful ostrich feather. And instead of using like the regular ostrich feather that we always see, I found this one at Hobby Lobby. It was $1.49. And what I'm doing here is splitting the bottom of it, opening it up. And as you can see, Luna was very curious as to what I was doing with this very, very long feather. I took this pen with that beautiful aqua blue color, which I thought was perfect to match with the peacock, and taking out the inside cartridge of the pen, I'm going to put this into the feather itself. And I couldn't just, close up the feather. I had to actually seal it up with some ribbon. And although I would have liked gold, I do decide to use a like an aqua blue color that was very similar to the color of the pen. And I decided I can make more pens if I want to in different colors and just change the color of the feather and the color of the ribbon. I don't understand what happened with the filming here, but it was like kind of, it looks like photo after photo. But here all I'm doing is covering the end of that pen with this beautiful ribbon to match the peacock feather. And once it's done, I can put my pen in my faux inkwell, excuse me, Luna, and we're done. Here's the final reveal. I want to thank all of my friends as part of this Last Thing Thrifted Spring Edition. Farmhouse Frugally, Provincial Farmhouse, Shabby Meets Bling, Up All Night DIY, and Repurposed My Way as being part of not only this collaboration, but such wonderful dear friends. Please check out their channels for even more spectacular inspirational ideas for home decor and DIYs. Thank you once again for stopping by. I truly appreciate you. And if you appreciate me, please consider subscribing and coming back for more. As I always say, stay safe, be kind, God bless each and every one of you, and live the adventure.